Hey guys, Xlice here. Evanescia is coming out in 4.2 and she's bringing more Elation to the table. I know that we just had a massive Infinity Stone arc for Silver Wolf, but keep your eyes peeled because Eva is also crazy powerful in her own unique way. In this video, I'll explain everything you need to know about what she does, how to play, how to build, how to team, how to Eva. Disclaimer, of course, this is Creator Experience Server, so there could be some changes for full release. Don't forget to like and subscribe for future guides and gadget summons, and now let's build the best Eva. So, Eva is an Elation DPS focused around certified bangers. This is the number on each character's tooltip, which scales their personal Elation damage from their own abilities. Notably, this is different from the number besides your skill points, which are called punchlines and affect the Elation damage dealt specifically during a instance. Eva goes much crazier than what you may be used to, with certified banger numbers easily reaching over 500 plus and even possibly 999. Let's jump into combat so you can see how she does this. So, immediately you'll notice she has a really high banger number, a percentage amount on her tooltip, and 2 ultimate charges. Our teammates are looking like the classic Elation setup with Guang, EMC, and HuoHuo. That high banger amount means her personal Elation damage is going to be quite juicy. Higher the better, and there's basically no limit besides actually hitting 999. That percentage amount indicates progress to her next Master Fox follow-up attack, whose main purpose is to apply a vulnerability on enemies and deal chip damage. And of course, her ult is one of her main sources of damage. Her ultimate cost is 240, but she can hold a max of 480 for 2 charges, which I believe is currently the highest in the game. But don't worry, she has a unique way to obtain a bunch of energy that doesn't rely on her actual own turns. Welcome to her certified banger energy loop. So, all raw energy she gains converts to an equal amount of certified banger, and all raw certified banger gains she gets converts to an equal amount of energy. These obviously cannot infinitely loop, and the converted banger gain amount cannot exceed over 100 on a single instance. So, with this loop, she's basically got a massive amount of free energy from Elation skills in a instance, while also getting a bunch of free banger points from energy funneling sources like HuoHuo and her own skill usage. Any sources of energy affected by energy regen also directly convert to bangers, so it's a win-win for her. But besides this banger energy loop, she also gets even more ways for more certified bangers and more energy. Her tooltip percentage indicates when Master Fox will attack and follows the same 240 energy cycle. When it attacks, she'll regen 10 energy and also apply 12% vuln from A4 passive. A 6 passive also converts ally certified banger into her own when theirs expires at a 50% ratio. And then a 2 trace adds even more allied certified banger if their instant ID is lower than hers at a 50% ratio. These of course all get converted into energy for her as well. And then specifically on her own turn, she will also be using her skill, almost always, for energy gain and therefore certified banger gain, as well as 10 punchline points for the next instant. With all this extra banger energy, she basically gets ult charge and stacking banger points by just waiting for teammates to send their supportive abilities, and then launches her huge ult nukes when ready. So, let's break down where her damage comes from. First, 20% of her crit damage converts to the Elation stat, so she basically gets to double dip and stack as much crit damage as possible. When Eva possesses certified banger, all of her abilities deal extra physical Elation damage. Her skill deals 16% extra to the primary attack target, and her ult deals 24% AoE Elation damage plus 28% bounce damage, and then Master Fox follow-up attacks deal 25% extra AoE Elation damage. In actual combat, her ultimate is what you will be relying on to deal her major source of damage. And then during instance, she will be using her Elation skill, which deals AoE Elation damage at a pretty high multiplier and grants an extra 5 banger points. Now, her ultimate does have a bit of nuance that makes it kind of a mix between AoE and single target damage. A 2 trace gives it extra bounce instances depending on the number of enemy targets, so the base amount is going to be 5 instances of damage. With A 2 trace, expect the following. If there are 3+ enemies on field, you'll do 6 hits. If there are only 2 enemies on field, you'll do 7 hits. If there's only 1 enemy on field, you'll do 9 hits. This means for 1 enemy, her ult hit count increases from 5 to 9, and they all land on that specific target, which is pretty sizable increase. For combat nuance, this usually means that it is ideal to hold your ult charges as long as possible for those trash mobs to die. You obviously don't want to overcap on energy though, but you will want to maximize the number of hits her ult deals. More combat insight will be provided during the showcase section. But yeah, overall I find her design to be pretty cool. Of course, she's got the pink hair Yae Sakura aesthetic, which makes her an immediate fan favorite, but her damage is pretty well balanced between AoE and single target, and her teammates are on the more F2P side, meaning her investment is kinder than most. Now, we basically covered her entire kit and her traces, but two final things I haven't mentioned yet. A2 Trace also provides her 30% crit rate for free, which makes her crit ratio incredibly easy to maximize and crit damage easy to stack. Technique is an active ability that provides 20 certified banger points to start off the fight. And then of course her trace nodes give her a massive 18.7% crit rate, 18 elation stat, and 5 speed. For trace priority, focus on talent first. This contains all of her elation damage. Then go for elation skill. This is the next thing for during a hot instance. And then ultimate, skill, and then basic last. Alright, now let's take a look at her light cones. So her signature provides 60% crit damage, 10% energy regen, and a very unique scaling energy regen past 120 max energy. 0.3% per 10 comes out to 10.8% extra energy regen at 360 for a total value of 20.8% additionally from this light cone. On top of that, this also provides 15% vulnerability for 2 turns when the wearer uses elation skill, which will be on 100% uptime given EMC, Guang, and AHA instance. Overall, this is a very solid light cone with a decent balance of raw damage and utility. Now, other options to consider include Sparxie's signature for 48% crit damage and some ignore defense. Unfortunately, she will not get access to the 20% elation since she's not consuming that many skill points per turn. And then of course we have Mushroom Shumi's Adventures, which is basically our most friendly budget option for elation stat and elation damage. And then today's Good Luck for crit rate and elation stat. The crit rate is a little bit difficult to build around because she already does have insane crit rate, so overcapping crit is a major issue, but if you can work around it, it's pretty solid. For my personal recommendations, Shroomies will be your most comfortable option outside those obvious 5-star choices like Sparxie and Signature. Pick up her Signature if you can, but of course I would first prioritize you get Eidolon 1, which we will get to down the line. Alright, now running through Relics. So she doesn't really have flexible build options here since her stat distribution is literally just crit and nothing else. Speed is not nearly as valuable as it was for Silver Wolf, so we can't break off and operate around a speed oriented set bonus as an alternative. So stick with 4-piece Magical Girl for raw elation damage value, and then 2-piece Punk Lord for elation and crit damage. For main stats, run crit damage body, speed, attack, primary, or HP defense boots, any stat orb, and then ERR row. Crit damage body always, since she has so much built-in crit rate. 18.7% from trace nodes and 30% from passive means she's 48.7 crit rate by default. This doesn't even include sources like Guang's signature. For boots, I prefer speed or attack for exactly base to 134 speed, and then speed tune her to act right after AHA instance, so that means slower than AHA instance speed for maximum certified banger value. But then HP defense boots are also great for sustainless builds, so you can honestly use anything here. For orb, we have the same deal. Damage or attack for a very marginal damage increase, or HP defense for sustainless and survivability. Nearly all of her damage is elation damage, so damage bonus or attack stat will only affect the very small amount of non-elation damage she does from her multipliers, hence marginal increase. Rope will always be ERR to scale energy and therefore certified banger increases as a tandem. So when you got a full build, this is basically what you can expect. Base to 134 speed. I am 136 speed because I have 2 extra substats from a single relic. You guys can see here really quick. We got 0 here, we got 2 here, 0, 0, 0, 0. Just that 2 extra speed gives us 136. So if you just have speed boots and 0 substats, you will be 134. For crit rate, we are going a 60% max with Guang's signature, 70% max otherwise. Remember, she gets plus 30% from her A2 trace, and then optionally plus 10% from Guang's signature. You have it. Currently, for my build, I am 5% above since I will use Guang with her, just letting you know. For crit damage, we are going as much as you can. This is her primary damage scaling stats, since it also converts to elation in combat. And of course, 119.4 ER. Your primary substats to hunt for are basically just crit rate and crit damage. Speed is not necessary, and attack is nice but very small DPS increase. Aim for crit rate until you can cap 100% and then go max crit damage. Alright, now let's run through her Eidolons. So, E1, welcome to God mode. So she gets 20% raw res pin here, and then Master Fox now triggers an additional elation skill, and every elation skill cast grants 10 extra banger points. So what this means is the following. Master Fox procs every time she obtains 240 energy. This will instantly proc an elation skill to provide more bangers and therefore more energy. All elation skills give 10 more banger points, which means more energy. Combined with EMC, Guang, and Natural Ha instance, she effectively gets at least 60% more elation skill uses with this, and all of them provide more bangers and more energy. So it's easily one of the strongest E1s in the game. It's just due to her banger plus energy loop, which is just constantly funneling and recharging that ultimate. E2. extra 36% crit damage. And whenever she gets banger points from her A2 or her A6 trace, her A2 trace now gives 75% instead of 50% banger points, and A6 now gives 100% instead of 50%. The wording is a little bit weird here, but yeah, that's just how it is. Again, it's also a very strong upgrade. It's just not as strong as E1, but still strong due to her recursive banger energy loop. E4 is going to be a simple 15% ignore defense, and then E6 is +1 turn for all of Eva's certified banger duration, and 15 to 35% final damage increase to Eva's Elation damage, and an extra 120 energy on the first ult and every 4 ults after that. So the normal duration for certified bangers is 2 turns, so +1 turn is a pretty big deal in terms of uptime, and basically guarantees that Eva will reach that 999 plus banger point threshold at pretty early stages of combat, and will maintain it throughout the rest of the fight because those bangers will continue to last a little bit longer and compound on each other. So combined with the extra energy and the final damage increase and E1 and E2, she should be annihilating things at E6. So her most important Eidolon is obviously going to be E1, and if you're even remotely interested in her, it's probably the strongest E1 to get on a singular character in a while. After that, breakpoints are E2 and E6. Alright, let's go through her teams and combat showcases. So even though Eva's core gameplay mechanics are pretty different than Silver Wolf's, the Elation team comps that we can build are fundamentally the same. Guang and EMC are both the foundation supports that provide free Elation skills and a HuoHuo instance, and are therefore essential to providing ramp up to our Elation DPS. Eva specifically wants as much certified banger generation and energy generation as possible. This means that units like HuoHuo, EMC, and Guang are all basically perfect synergy with her. Units like Sparksy generate a bunch of punchline from massive SP usage, which is great for Silver Wolf, but this doesn't do much for Eva immediately. Punchline needs to convert the banger points by a HuoHuo instant, so it's a bit more delayed value for Eva. So the most balanced investment team comp will be what you see on screen here, which is Eva, Guang, EMC, and HuoHuo. This is my preferred lineup, and it's pretty nice on the wallet, most things considered. You effectively only need to pull for Guang and any signature light cones that you'd like. Alternatively, you can dual DPS with Silver Wolf by just running Silver Wolf 999 with Eva plus Guang and HuoHuo. This will probably be her strongest team DPS lineup, but it's less preferred. I do enjoy EMC's kind of like constant ults. Other options that can slot in, like I mentioned, Sparksy can flex in either Guang or EMC slot, but from my personal experience, it honestly feels worse than either one just because Guang and EMC's ult is so crucial to everything about Eva's kit. Now, if you don't have that many Elation characters, you can still synergize with Tribby, Sunday, Ruan Mei. Tribby is probably the most available default support if you don't have these Elation characters, and she is an excellent choice that provides just general strong buffs for the entire team. Sunday is going to be an old school energy funneler, and Ruan Mei is an old school team buffer. For sustain, DHPT is effectively the only decent option if you don't have HuoHuo, but because energy funnel is so damn important for Eva, I do really recommend guaranteeing a HuoHuo for this team. Alright, so I just have one setup that I want to showcase. This is the cozy and comfortable Eva, Yao, EMC, HuoHuo team. EMC is the only character with Eidolons at E6 S1, everyone else is E0 S1, and this team is speed tuned so that Eva is about 134, and a HuoHuo instant is slightly faster than her. In order to achieve this type of tuning, Guang needs to be your fastest character. Guang for me is 192, and then EMC is 171. In total, this means that I believe a HuoHuo instant is about 139 or 138-ish, somewhere along that line. All right, so let's get into it. This is a very clean 1 cycle clear. On a good day, you could consider it kind of close for a 0 cycle, but realistically, it's not really possible unless you have Eidolon investments on the limited characters. So, a couple of things. Let me just show you guys real quick. Let me just show you guys what the stat page looks like here. So, she's 310 out of 480 energy here. Certified bangers. These are the list of buffs that she has. You guys can see the 20.8% energy regen rate boost. You guys can also see the total stats here. Over 100% crit rate, 344 crit damage, 140 regen, and 137 elation. And then certified banger, she has 2 turns on her first bout, which is 294. Alright, so I'm just going to let this play for a little bit while I explain some stuff. We're going to be trying to loop EMC and Guang's ultimates as much as possible, just so that Eva gets as much certified banger as possible. In most of these situations, we actually want to wait really as long as possible before we use Eva's ult, because we're still accumulating all of the certified bangers right now. And as long as Eva doesn't overcap on her energy, she's completely fine. But you guys notice my first ultimate is right here. It's about 400 certified banger, and it's because 83% on the energy. I want to use this ultimate, and HuoHuo's ult is ready. And we just used both Guang and EMC's ult, so I just want to ult funnel right away. If I were to HuoHuo beforehand, we would be overcapping heavily because we'd be getting 96 or higher for Eva, and that would not be good. So now we can HuoHuo ult, and then boom, we should get a really juicy amount here. So we went from like 97% to 132%, and this will also proc Master Fox, which will apply that vulnerability. Very nice. Alright, so a couple of other things. You guys can see exactly in the action order right here that a hot instant is going, and then Eva's going right after. This is always going to be optimal because we're going to get a massive amount of energy and certified banger from this, and then it's going to be Eva's turn. Alright, so you guys can see the total here, what we get. So after the hot instant ends, we are at 600 certified banger and 80% or 180% of the ultimate. And now it's Eva's turn. So whenever it's Eva's turn and you guys notice this happening, at least this is what I would recommend because you don't overcap energy here. I would always E and then ult. So you'll see right here, I have 2 turns at 600 certified banger. To check out my stats again, almost 400% crit damage. And then we're going to send E here. Okay, so you guys notice that with this E here, I'm 97% extra, and I also gained 42 certified banger. So this just ensures your ult is just a little bit stronger, and there's no reason to ult and then E because the energy is like overflowing anyway. That's just like the nuance of how to play your kit. You're gonna stall as long as possible until you have a good ult angle for Eva. So we're gonna fast forward now. Very easy 0 cycle clear here. Let's just go to wave 2. So wave 2 is where everything really matters here. Alright, so wave 2. 724 certified banger. We're always watching that number here. We want to wait until this guy summons his ads, which is right now. Okay, so it's Eva's turn because she gets a little bit of an action advance here. I'm going to do the E on those trash bombs because they are the swarm and they explode. And now we're going to ultimate because she's 194% with a 39 certified banger. And then we're going to Guang ult. So Guang ult's gonna force a free hot instant, give me even more stats and even more energy. Okay, so here's a subtlety. I want to ult here. Why do I want to ult here? Because with the way that Eva works here, I'm going to be losing a lot of my certified banger after this turn. When I use this, I'm going to be basically 0% energy. The reason is because you're going to notice how much certified banger I lose after this. So it's very important to kind of synergize her ultimates for how close her certified banger. Like you guys just noticed right here, after this turn, which she just acted on this turn, she will be losing 2/3 of her certified banger. We're going to go from 912 to like 400 because she's going to ult and get a little bit back. But you'll see. But yeah, so we're going to ult here. I'm going to be doing a juicy 1.6 mil here and there. As you guys can see, I lost 600 in certified banger, which is an optimal time. So now I just want to ramp up everything again. So we're playing the same game where we're basically saying, hey, when is Eva's next turn? And let me use any extra ultimates so that I don't overflow my energy. But when it is her turn, make sure I use her E first, just for a little bit extra certified banger. And then if I want to, I can like double ult if I want. Just making sure that we're getting her ultimate when she has maximum bangers up. Okay, so I can go ahead and fast forward here. Let's go to when after these guys explode. Okay, these guys have exploded. You guys have noticed 194% on the energy here, 635 certified banger. It is her turn. So obviously right here, we're going to E first and then ult. Or actually, okay, so this is, I'm actually thinking about this one. Let's see what I decide to do. So I actually decide to ult here because I calculated in my head, okay, so if I E here, I'm actually going to overcap my energy and I don't want to do that. So I'm going to ult here first, then E so I get that energy back. Okay, so and also, as you guys know, it is her turn. When her turn ends, she's going to be losing certified banger bonuses. So the ideal play here is to ult, then E, then ult again. And maybe before the cycle ends, I can ult again. Honestly, you guys can see the action order. That's not going to happen. This was actually a misplay here. What I should have done is I should have E'd first. So I had a little bit more banger points for the first ult and then just double ult it in sequence. But yeah, you learn every single day, right? You guys can see 698 certified banger, then I ult again. The single target damage, look at that. See, 2.9 mil is kind of juiced. And this is because of her A2 trace that gives more bounce attacks when there's only one enemy on field. So we're going from 5 hits to 9 hits here. So we're doing 2.9 mil single target. Pretty good. And then a hot instant goes just for that little extra chip damage here. And then we start to ramp up once again. So this is the 0th cycle. You'll see how close we are. It's honestly not that bad. And then the blessing hits. So it's a very clean one cycle, right? And obviously the blessing chunks out a lot of the damage. But yeah, now we just wait until Eva's next ultimate and he's dead. So very simple here. EMC, I'm gonna ult here, and then it's gonna be very close to her turn. And then that's all she wrote. 87%. Doesn't really matter what I do here. And we're never in SP pressure in this team, so yeah. All right, there we go. And it's dead. Pretty straightforward. It's a very humble 1 cycle clear. So, what do you think? Closing thoughts overall, Eva is a beautiful pink-haired katana maniac and abuses a unique certified plus banger loop mechanic. I personally really enjoy the way she plays, and those huge ultimates on single target are really satisfying to pull off. If you have the disposable income, I do recommend investing in E1 because it is incredibly strong, and I promise you will immediately feel the difference in her strength. If you have Silver Wolf and Eva, I would recommend keeping Yao with Eva and Sparksy with Silver Wolf in terms of dividing up your Elation units. Yao Guang is just too important for Eva, and Sparksy really only has meaningful value with Silver Wolf. And of course, don't forget to grab a HuoHuo. If I do end up making an E0 to E6 Eva showcase, that will be released on my second channel. Thanks as always for watching, hope you learned something, and we'll see you next time. Take care.